Reality check, man, from a year device, you know, it's a unique one, aromatic, realistic TV. Anyway, today, my viewers and subscribers, you know, I say, you know, see aromatic, don't. But anyway, the reality is aromatic have a life outside of social media. I also have a business to run. And on the screen here, it's my project that I'm actually doing presently. So I'm busy. Me not have none time. But today we also want to touch on the Nigel Clarke moving towards greener pastures. So therefore you have some people go say, a bad mind or no bad mind or no grudge. No, I'm not bad mind Nigel Clarke. Me I do this for 1991, me I work and travel. So the only thing that I can say to Nigel Clarke, welcome to the club. But there was a statement from the Prime Minister, and I am going to read it. And after we read it, then we can dissect and go through the entire thing. Because we want to show the Jamaican people them. So the Jamaica Labour Party is a fraud party. The I.M.F is a fraud institution. Nigel Clarke is also a fraud. But anyway, let me read what the Prime Minister said, and then we'll take it from there. And the Prime Minister stated, I wholeheartedly congratulated Dr. Nigel Clarke on today's announcement of his pending appointment as Deputy Managing Director of the I.M.F. The Prime Minister also goes on and he stated that this is historical and important development in which I take immense pride. He stated no citizen of Jamaica, the Caribbean or Central America has ever been served at this level in the I.M.F in its 80 years history. The Prime Minister also goes on and he stated, it is to the benefit of Jamaica and the Caribbean region for one of our national to serve in such consequential global position. You hear what him say? It is to the benefit of Jamaica and the Caribbean. How is this going to benefit Jamaica and the Caribbean when this is an individual position? Jamaica will not get anything out of this. So Jamaica, this is it. And we have to remember this. Nigel Clarke, the finance minister, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, put in this position to lead us through the 2030 vision, a new and renewed Jamaica, where nobody in Jamaica don't have to live in poverty again, but we will be all living under prosperity. The Rhodes Scholar is the brightest thing Jamaica has ever seen. He was placed there to rescue Jamaica from political collapse. Nigel Clarke is leaving Jamaica worse than where we take it up. In a matter of fact, Jamaica is at its worst in the history of our economic standing. So when this man is going to tell us it is to the benefit of Jamaica, now I understand when Darrell Vaz has stated that the OUR has been absolutely a disaster. We know where Darrell Vaz is coming from. The Minister of Energy, Darrell Vaz, stated the OUR has been an absolute disaster. And if the OUR has been an absolute disaster, the man is telling you that the Prime Minister of Jamaica is a disaster because the OUR is in the Prime Minister of Jamaica office. That is what I get from it. You know. Darrell Vaz is showing shade at Andrew Holness because everybody that try to separate themselves from this man. Think about it and think out of the box. The OUR has been absolute a disaster. Where is the OUR? The OUR is comfortable in the Prime Minister office. So if the OUR is a disaster, it simply means the Prime Minister himself is an absolutely disaster. And that the man I tell you. So anyway, let's just look into the I.M.F. Because, you know, want to reason out something with my people, you know, because we're not there around here, you know, because of work commitment And me have to protect my brand. Me have to protect my business. You understand? As much as I want to come out here, come edify, and to open up the eyes of my people and make things stuck in them cranium, I also have to protect my best interests. And my best interest right now is also my business too. You know what I mean? The Jamaican people interest is my interest too. But I have to protect my business and I have to protect my brand. Anyway, what purpose the I.M.F serve? Those are some questions that we need to sit down and ask ourselves. These are some things that we need to explain to the small people down in the gutter, the trench, the garrison, the ghettos, the corner. We need to explain these things to them so they can understand it. What is the purpose that the I.M.F serve? They will lend you money. But the I.M.F also will tell you how to spend it. The I.M.F will lend you money, but they are going to tell you how to spend it. It's not like you're going to borrow the money from I.M.F and you say, boy, I want if you buy one car or I'm going to go buy a house. No. The I.M.F tell you what you can do with their money. So if you see what is going on with our hospital, they only can spend a small fraction of that money in our hospitals. They only can spend a small fraction on the education ministry. They only can spend a small fraction in the farming community. And they only can spend a small fraction for our infrastructure. And the reason why they spend the money on the infrastructure is to take the raw material, the backside to the ports, so they can leave in ship and reach their destination. So we have to understand that the I.M.F is not there for our best interests. And in other words, the I.M.F is there to oppress underdeveloped countries. So when people is talking about bad mind and grudge and all of that, Nigel Clarke was not important working for the citizen of Jamaica. So I don't see where Nigel Clarke is going to be relevant or of importance to the people of Jamaica now working for the I.M.F. Nigel Clarke working for the people of Jamaica bring our economy to the lowest in the history of Jamaica. And if you think that I'm lying, check the dollar today. Our dollar is almost at 160 for one. And what we need to take into consideration, anytime the dollar slide, things get more expensive. Anytime the dollar slide, things get more expensive. So the Rhodes Scholar, the genius, the brightest thing in the Jamaica Labour Party, that they stated that wreck the education, wreck agriculture, wreck our hospitals and school, wreck the police force, wreck the public servant. Nigel Clarke, that's the man who they are praising. So I'm saying, if Nigel Clarke didn't important then, or all of a sudden, Nigel Clarke is going to be such important figure in Jamaica. Eh? So you have to ask, what difference will Nigel Clarke make working for the I.M.F from when this man was working for Jamaica? This man was borrowing money from the I.M.F and destroying Jamaica. And that is the reason why I said the I.M.F is a fraud institution. Because if you look at Nigel Clarke's track record, what Nigel Clarke has done to the Jamaican economy, and one of the biggest lending institutions in the world, go and hire that man. You will not take rocket scientists to figure out something and show you that these people are fraud. The International Monetary Fund, them are fraud. We know what Nigel Clarke has done to our economy. We know what Nigel Clarke do to the teacher them. We know what Nigel Clarke do to the nurse and the doctor them. We know what Nigel Clarke do to the police. We know what he do to public servants. We know what he do to farmer. We know what he do to taxi drivers. And yet still, one of the biggest lending institution in the world, the I.M.F, the International Monetary Fund, turn a blind eye and hire Nigel Clarke. It not take rocket scientists to figure out some things. So when you are going to praise somebody or honor them, it should base on their accomplishment. I will repeat. When you are going to praise somebody or honor them, it should base on their accomplishment. What was that person accomplish in his career? What has he done? What foundation he lays to make the Jamaican people better off? Zero, nada. So for the Prime Minister to tell us that Nigel Clarke going to work for the I.M.F, it is to the best interest of the Jamaican people. What interest is that going to bring to the Jamaican people when Nigel Clarke and Andrew Holness borrow money from the I.M.F and destroy the economy? Andrew Holness and Nigel Clarke borrow money from the I.M.F and mash up the economy. So now Nigel Clarke going to the I.M.F to work. What you expect is going to happen? It's going to be worse. It's going to be worse. Draw your own conclusion. You don't have to take what me they say. The facts is there what Nigel Clarke has done to our economy. And one of the biggest lending institution in the world, the I.M.F, hire Nigel Clarke. So the question what you have to ask, all along, Nigel Clarke was there taking orders from the I.M.F. Nigel Clarke was there taking order from the I.M.F. Because as I say, the I.M.F just go to undeveloped country, and wreck them. We lend you money. But when we lend you the money, we tell you, say, your uncle can't spend 1% in agriculture. 1% in your health care. Another percent on infrastructure. 1% in education. If you are lending me money, you're not supposed to tell me how to spend my money. The only thing you should care about is how me pay you back your money. But you are lending me some money and at the same time I have to sign a contract to tell you that I am not going to fund education out of this money. I am not going to fund healthcare out of this money. I am not going to fund agriculture out of this money. I am not going to fund infrastructure out of this money. Because the evidence is there to show. Look at our hospital, they are deplorable. Look at our roads and bridges, they are crumbling. Look at the agricultural system, it mash up. Just look at it, name it, the education system mash up. And yet still we are borrowing millions and billions from the I.M.F. But yet the country is still not growing. So what that is telling you, it is telling you that this lending institution is a fraud. They tie you up in debt. And after they tie you up in debt, they have you as a tally fear. They tell you when to jump up and skip. They tell you when to jump up and skip. So for the Prime Minister to come and stand now and they tell me that, yes, we understand that they say you are the brightest amongst the Jamaica Labour Party followers. But you are one of the slowest globally. You are one of the slowest globally. You understand? It is to the benefit of Jamaica and the Caribbean. What is the purpose of the I.M.F? To lend you money. But also, they tell you how to spend it. And you have to sign a contract or you will spend that money. And remember, They go into countries that are underdeveloped and wreck those countries. One of the best things has happened for Jamaica is when PJ Patterson take us from the I.M.F. But because the Jamaica Labour Party is a capital party and they have the capital mentality and the capital behavior, they went right back to the I.M.F. Because the Jamaica Labour Party has never wanted us to be a free people. Always remember that, my people. What interest will the Jamaican people gain from Nigel Clarke going to the I.M.F? What benefit we, the citizen of Jamaica, is going to gain when Nigel Clarke get a personal opportunity for him and his family? When Nigel Clarke get him pay, it gone in his pocket. What Jamaica will get from that? Nothing. But what I want to leave with you, remember, Nigel Clarke was there and they borrow billions from the I.M.F. Nigel Clarke was there at the head of the finance ministry. They borrow billions from the I.M.F. And what is there to show for it? Broken infrastructure, destroy education, mash up the farming industry, infrastructure crash, our hospitals demoralized, mash up. But on top of that, the I.M.F. employ Nigel Clarke. Think about that. The greatest finance minister in the world crash his country economy. A country that he pledged with his Prime Minister Andrew Holness that he will lead us out of poverty into prosperity. They will lead us in the 2030 vision for a new and renewed Jamaica. And the man plunged us into a ditch and jump ship and gone to another country to work. And the Prime Minister of Jamaica is telling us it is to the benefit of Jamaica and the Caribbean. Think about it. Think about it. And when Darrell Vaz stated the OUR has been an absolutely disaster and the OUR is situated in the Prime Minister's office. If Darrell Vaz is telling you that the OUR that sits in the Prime Minister's office is unnatural, it's an absolutely disaster, what is Darrell Vaz saying? The Prime Minister of Jamaica is a disaster. That's what the man is saying. Think about it, my people. Leave your comment in the comment section and tell me your viewpoint on this topic. Until then, we will chat again. I continue to tell the mass that the signature word is remain. Art of love. Art of love. Peace, my people. Out.